Right. So in today's class, we'll discuss about glycogenesis, glycogenolysis, and oxidative phosphorylation or electron transport chain. Now, we'll first look at glycogenesis. Glycogenesis को अगर split करें, this is glycogen. Genesis means making or producing. So the process in which glycogen is made or produced is called glycogenesis. We'll get into the specifics of it. Glycogenesis mainly occurs in your liver. Okay, whenever there is a lot of this thing coming in, glucose being consumed by the person, extra amount of glucose which cannot be used at the moment will be stored in your liver in the form of glycogen, even in your muscles to a certain extent. Okay, show you an image. So this is glycogenesis. Now essentially glycogenesis and glycogenolysis will have a very similar mechanism. Glycogenesis may you are taking glucose and you are converting it into glycogen. In glycogenolysis, you will do the opposite. You will break down glycogen. So first we'll discuss glycogenesis. Now in glycogenesis, the reaction starts with glucose. Glucose is phosphorylated using ATP. यहाँ पर it did not mention, the image did not mention that, but you are converting glucose into glucose 6-phosphate using ATP. Adenosine triphosphate donates one phosphate molecule to glucose. You will end up getting ADP, adenosine diphosphate, and glucose 6-phosphate. This reaction is catalyzed by glucokinase or hexokinase, whatever works. Okay, both of them will work. Glucose 6-phosphate is repositioned. It is isomerized. जो phosphate group है, it is moved from the 6th position to the 1st position. So glucose 6-phosphate becomes glucose 1-phosphate. Now comes the tricky part. Instead of ATP, this time uridine triphosphate comes into picture. UTP. UTP is also a molecule that is, used for energy. Whenever UTP molecules are broken down, you will get energy. It is just a different form of ATP. Instead of adenine, you have uridine. So in this reaction, what happens is UTP may say UDP and one inorganic phosphate is released, but this time phosphate is not added, but UDP is added. I'll repeat once again. In the third step, to glucose 1-phosphate, see, I'll draw that step in this thing once. Essentially, what we are doing is you are taking glucose 1-phosphate. Okay. You are taking UTP. Now, if I break down UTP, I will get UDP and one inorganic phosphate, right? Pyrophosphate bhi bol sakta main. In this reaction, what happens is this UDP molecule attaches to glucose 1-phosphate and you end up getting UDP glucose. समझ में आया? Did you all follow? Did you all understand till this point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. Now this UDP glucose जो है, it will come across a glycogen primer. So there is a protein called glycogenin. What is glycogenin? It's a specific protein that is produced by your liver. It is generally present in your cytosol of the liver. Now what does this glycogenin do is, this fellow will bind to UDP glucose in such a way that, let us suppose we have UDP glucose. One second. Let us suppose this is the primer. It will attach to this glucose in such a way that you will end up getting primer plus glucose. This is the glucose molecule, okay? And you will get one UDP molecule. So eventually what will happen is, I'll draw that primer a little better. Let us suppose that primer SI and glucose को attached. ठीक है? And you will release the UDP molecule. Now what happens is, why is this primer coming into picture? Have you all ever made curd at home? పెరుగు ఎప్పుడైనా
Yes, sir.
చేశారా ఇంట్లో? పెట్టారా?
పెట్టాం సార్.
పెట్టారా కదా? ఎట్లా పెడతారు?
అందులో పెరుగు వేస్తాం సార్. పాలలో
పాలలో
వేసేసి
కొంచెం పాలు తీసుకొని దాంట్లో పెరుగు పెట్టాలి కదా. ఇప్పుడు ఈ ప్రైమర్ విల్ యాక్ట్ as దట్ ఇనిషియల్ పెరుగు దట్ యు ఆర్ పుట్టింగ్. అర్థమవుతుందా? ఇన్ దిస్ సినారియో this primer will act as the curd, the initiator curd that will cause the making of more curd. So in this scenario, this primer is priming the glucose molecule, and essentially what happens is to this glucose molecule more and more UDP glucose. So there are other UDP glucose molecules as well, UDPG. Several of these will encounter this primer molecule. They will lose their glucose, and more glucose molecules will come and attach like this. Okay, and you will keep on getting more and more UDP molecules. I hope you are getting the point here. Once this primer has attached to a glucose molecule, all the UDP glucose molecules which are present in the cytosol of that cell, they will encounter this complex, and they will start losing their UDP. As UDP is lost, that glucose will come and attach to this glucose molecule, to this glucose molecule. And as a result, what happens is you will see a big chain of glucose. So essentially you will see that, let us suppose this is the primer, glucose ऐसा attach होने लगते, and this happens 13 times. So 13 different UDP molecules, UDP glucose molecules, they will release their glucose and they will attach to this this primer essentially. Now in the end, what will happen is you will end up getting a structure something like this. You will have a glucose primer, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So all of these are glucose. Okay. The 13 glucose molecules which were released from uridine diphosphate, all of those glucose molecules have attached to each other with the help of a primer. And this attachment is 1,4. What does 1,4 mean? 1,4 attachment. It means that the first molecule of glucose in this carbon 1 is attached to carbon 4 of glucose 2. I'll repeat that point once again. The bond in between all of these glucose molecules is a 1,4 bond. Okay, when we were discussing about oligosaccharides, I told you that these essentially जो bond बन रहा ना, that is a glycosidic bond. This bond, if you expand it, it is like this. Okay, it is essentially a polysaccharidic structure. Glycogen, if you remember, is a homopolysaccharide. Homopolysaccharide banana, if you want to make any polysaccharide, you need to have a glycosidic linkage, right? So you are essentially making glycosidic linkages in between glucose. This linkage is 1,4, meaning the first carbon of glucose 1 is attaching to the fourth carbon of glucose 2. That is how you get a straight chain. Now, यहाँ तक समझ में आया?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir.
I hope all of you understood this. Now, this molecule is not exactly stable. Okay. This molecule will not be able to stabilize itself, and it will not be able to stay as is. And this will continue a little bit more. You will see that 3 more molecules of glucose will come and attach. So essentially, in total, this has become 16 glucose molecules. And this is a very long structure. As such, this long structure will not be stable. It will break very easily. So what happens is, there will be a small change that occurs here. Okay, this is the 10th glucose molecule. At the 10th glucose molecule, the bond between 10th and 11th glucose molecule will break, and what will happen is this branch, so 6 glucose molecules are left, they will come and attach to the 7th glucose molecule. So if you see here, what will happen is there is a new bond formed. This bond is a 1,6 bond, meaning the first carbon of this glucose and the 6th carbon of this glucose have bound to each other. I'll repeat once again. That glucose molecule, which is a 16 glucose molecules which have been attached to the primer, they are in such a way that the structure is not stable. Now, in order to make it stable, that glucose molecule, this big molecule of multiple glucose, it will break at the 10th glucose molecule. The bond, the glycosidic bond between the 10th and the 11th glucose molecule will break. This remaining fellow will essentially come and attach here. And what happens is it will attach to the seventh glucose molecule of the initial structure. And that to the new bond which is formed between the seventh glucose molecule. This is the seventh glucose molecule. If you count, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, this is the seventh molecule. So to the seventh molecule, I'll just erase these so that you don't get confused. To this seventh molecule, there will be attachment of a new glucose, and this type of attachment is 1,6. So the first carbon of the seventh glucose and the sixth carbon of this new glucose will attach together. The rest of the bonds will be the same. This is a 1,4 bond. Okay, because you're not changing these. These are still 1,4 bonds. The only difference comes between here. Okay, जो नया bond बन रहा, this bond is the only one that is different. So in a glycogen molecule, you will see that there is only one 1,6 bond, and there are almost 15 1,4 bonds. Okay, out of 16 glucose molecules that have attached together, you will have 15 1,4 bonds and one 1,6 bond. That 1,6 bond is present near the branch. Okay. Eventually what will happen is this primer will get removed. This primer is removed like this. And what you end up getting is a glycogen molecule. That glycogen molecule looks like this. One second. So if I draw that whole structure, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. This is how a glycogen molecule looks. Okay. One second. I'll remove this. So there are 16 total glucose molecules. Now, this is only a sample glucose molecule, glycogen molecule. You will have multiple of these branches occurring and multiple of these attaching together. Almost one mole of glucose will have about 25,000 glucose molecules. So this process will keep on continuing. But this is the most basic structure of glycogen. That is how glycogen synthesis occurs. ये समझ में आया?
Yes, sir.
Did you all understand how glycogen is being
Yes,
formed?
sir.
All of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now,
Yes.
if we study about glycogenolysis, glycogenolysis means breakdown of glycogen. I am performing lysis of glycogen. I am breaking glycogen apart. So if I want to break glycogen apart, I will do everything similar to glycogenesis, but in ulta. So in the opposite direction. So the first step in this process kya rehta? If I want to go in the opposite direction, what will I have to do first? I have to break this bond, no? Because the last step, one of the last steps of forming glycogen was attaching this branch. So if I want to make glucose, if I want to break down glycogen to make glucose, I will break this branch. Okay, I will break the 1,6 branch or the 1,6 bond. I will do this by using an enzyme called glycogen phosphorylase. Okay, everything will happen in the opposite direction. So in this scenario, first I'll break the 1,6 bond using glycogen phosphorylase, and over time what will happen is I will start breaking these bonds as well. I will use something called a debranching molecule, debranching enzyme, sorry, debranching. So I'm reversing the branch essentially. By using a debranching enzyme, I will remove one glucose at a time. This glucose is gone, then this glucose is gone, then this glucose is gone, then this one will be gone, then this one will be gone, and this has gone. Finally, I will break the 1,6 bond as well. And finally, I will repeat the same process here as well. Okay. What you end up getting is not exactly glucose. The last third step, if you remove all the molecules from being branched, you will end up getting glucose 1-phosphate. If you remember, we had continued glycogenesis with glucose 1-phosphate. Glucose 1-phosphate became UDP glucose and glycogen was formed, right? In this scenario, when I break down the whole glycogen molecule, I will end up getting one glucose 1-phosphate. This glucose 1-phosphate gets converted into glucose 6-phosphate, G6P, in the presence of a mutase enzyme, phosphoglucomutase. I will convert glucose 1-phosphate into 6-phosphate. I'm essentially moving that first position phosphate into 6th position. This phosphate is released. Inorganic phosphate is released out and I will end up getting glucose. Okay. That is how glycogenolysis is performed. Simple ulta process of glycogenesis. That is it. The only step that we are missing in this is UDP. In this, UDP will not be involved. There is no uridine triphosphate or diphosphate. Okay. Everything else will remain the same. No primer also in glycogenolysis. समझ में आया? Did you all understand how glycogenolysis works? You're doing the same exact opposite of glycogenesis. You first break the 1,6 bond, 1,6 branching bond, then you break 1,4 bonds. You will end up getting G1P, glucose 1-phosphate. From that, you will isomerize it into glucose 6-phosphate and finally to glucose. You'll remove the phosphate to get glucose.
Yes,
That
sir.
is how glycogenolysis occurs. Okay. Now, lastly, we'll discuss about electron transport chain. So what is electron transport chain? Electron transport chain or oxidative phosphorylation this is a mechanism by your body, specifically by mitochondria present in your body to make ATP. Okay? In order to produce ATP, mitochondria will perform this क्या बोलते हैं आपका electron transport chain or oxidative phosphorylation. Now, how does this work? Essentially, through electron transport chain, what I'm doing is I am converting NADH2 and FADH2 into ATP. If you remember, where did we get this FADH and NADH? In the previous two classes, when we were discussing about some cycles, we got NADH and FADH, right? In glycolysis and Krebs cycle, if you remember, you will get both NADH and FADH. Yaad hai?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Get
sir.
nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, this thing H2 and FADH2 in both Krebs cycle and in glycolysis. Now that NADH and FADH is also further used to make ATP. I will show you how ATP is being formed. So if you study mitochondria, let us suppose this is the mitochondria. You will have an outer membrane and an inner membrane. On the surface of the mitochondria, you will be able to see there is an inner membrane and there is an outer membrane. Okay. This is the outer membrane. And this is the inner membrane. This is the mitochondrial matrix. Okay. Our electron transport chain occurs here on the inner mitochondrial membrane. Okay. So I will just shift that image a little bit. Let us suppose this is the L. So if you zoom in, if you can see the mitochondria on the top right, if you can see a small boxes present with mitochondria, that fellow is essentially doing what you call maximizing or zooming in into the inner mitochondrial membrane. So नीचे mitochondrial matrix है, बाहर cytoplasm है. If you remember, mitochondria is a cell organelle, meaning it will be present inside the cell, specifically inside the cytoplasm. So the outer membrane के बाहर it represents cytoplasm or cytosol. Inside the inner membrane is the mitochondrial matrix. I hope you can position where it is. समझ में आ रहा है इसका position किधर है?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, there are special proteins, specifically protein complexes, that are present on the inner membrane. These protein complexes will transport electrons and they will generate ATP. Okay? These protein complexes are part of oxidative phosphorylation. Now there are four total protein complexes, and you will lastly have one other protein called ATP synthase. First of all, there is complex 1. ये complex 1 का नाम is NADH dehydrogenase. ठीक है? This complex 1 on the left is called NADH dehydrogenase. Its function is to dehydrogenase, or its function is to oxidize NADH. It will remove electrons from NADH2, and it will also remove hydrogens from NADH. If you can see on the bottom, you'll be able to see that NADH is getting converted into NAD plus two H molecules, two proton molecules or two hydrogen molecules. In the process, two electrons are being transported into complex 1. I'll repeat that process once again. Complex 1, protein complex 1 is present in the inner membrane of your mitochondrial matrix, inner mitochondrial matrix. Its its name is NADH dehydrogenase. It is responsible for oxidizing NADH into NAD, meaning it will remove hydrogens from NADH. Oxidation can be termed in two different ways. You can call it addition of oxygen, or you can also call it removal of hydrogen. Okay? So in this scenario, it is removing hydrogens. The electrons that are released in this process will be moved into the complex. Now through multiple processes, what will happen is those two electrons will move through coenzyme Q. जो COQ दिख रहा आपको बीच में छोटा, there is a molecule called COQ, right? That is coenzyme Q. Coenzyme Q10 is the name of that molecule. Okay, it will that those two electrons will move through coenzyme Q. They will move through complex 3, which is called cytochrome C reductase. It will move through cytochrome C oxidase, which is complex 4, and it will move through cytochrome C complex as well. If you can, I'll just write down the names of all of them once again, in case you are getting a doubt. So we have complex 1, NADH dehydrogenase. Complex 2, succinate dehydrogenase. Complex 3, cytochrome C reductase. Complex 4 is cytochrome C oxidase. Then we have cofactors, which include coenzyme Q10. This is abbreviated Q. And you have cytochrome C complex. This is abbreviated C. Okay. These are the names of those protein complexes that are present there. देखिए, you also have ATP synthase in the end, but essentially यहाँ पर अब देखो तो complex 1 NADH dehydrogenase, complex 2 नीचे है, that is succinate dehydrogenase. Directly above complex 2 is COQ, which is coenzyme Q10. Immediately to the right is complex 3, which is cytochrome C reductase. Beside that is cytochrome C complex, which is cytochrome C, site C बल्कि लिखा हुआ है CYTC. Then beside that is complex 4, which is cytochrome C oxidase. Those are the four complexes. On the right, you will see that there is ATP synthase. For now, forget about say ATP synthase. We'll concentrate only on those four complexes. So as I was telling you, NADH will donate two electrons to complex 1, and these two electrons will get transported through coenzyme Q. They'll transport through protein complex 3, through cytochrome C complex, and through complex 4. In the end, what will happen is these two electrons are brought back into the mitochondrial matrix. They will come back down, and what happens is these two electrons are essentially taken up by oxygen molecules, specifically half an oxygen molecule. And what happens is, to these two oxygen molecules, the two hydrogens that were released upon usage of NADH, and if you can see on the left, you will be able to see that NADH is getting converted into NAD plus two hydrogens, right? Those two hydrogens will combine with one oxygen and two electrons to give you water molecule. ठीक है? Now, ये समझ में आया? What is happening?
Yes, sir.
All
Yes,
of you?
sir.
Electrons are being transported, and as electrons are being transported, they will come back into mitochondrial matrix. Those electrons are accepted by oxygen, and that oxygen combines with hydrogen to form water. Okay, first step. Now, whenever electrons are transported through these protein complexes, these protein complexes will release a few hydrogens, and these hydrogens are being released in the intermembrane space. In between the outer membrane and inner membrane of the mitochondria, there is a intermembrane space. So these hydrogens are being released from mitochondrial matrix into intermembrane space whenever electrons are moving. So complex 1 moves 4 hydrogen molecules. Complex 3 moves 4 hydrogen molecules. Complex 4 moves 2 hydrogen molecules. So to put it in another way, one NADH molecule, whenever it is donating 2 electrons, it will cause the movement of 10 hydrogen molecules or 10 hydrogen atoms. समझ में आया? 4 plus 4 plus 2. Whenever one NADH is releasing 2 electrons, that 2 electrons is moving through all the complexes. As it is moving through all the complexes, except 2, it will move through all the complexes. So as it is moving through 1, COQ, 3, cytochrome C, and 4, it will cause the release of hydrogens. So initially complex 1 say 4 H atoms, complex 3 say 4 H atoms, and complex 4 say 2 H atoms. This means 4 plus 4 plus 2, which is 10. ठीक है? यहाँ तक समझ में आया?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. In case NADH is not available, but FADH is available. Let us suppose NADH is not participating, but FADH is participating. When FADH2 participates, it will come and attach to complex 2, succinate dehydrogenase. It will not combine with complex 1. As it combines with complex 2, it will release 2 electrons, and this time those 2 electrons will directly enter coenzyme Q. Meaning in this whole cycle, the whole thing will repeat. It will go to coenzyme Q, that those electrons will move to uh, protein 3, the protein complex 3, they will move to cytochrome C, then they will move to complex 4. Now in this process, if you can see, it is never entering complex 1. If the FADH molecule, FADH2 molecule is releasing 2 electrons, those 2 electrons will never move into complex 1. Meaning from FADH molecule, I will only get 6 protons, or I will get only 6 hydrogens. समझ में आ रहा? The protons are only being released by complex 3 and complex 4 when I use FADH. When I use NADH, complex 1 is being involved. When I use FADH, complex 1 is not involved. Only complex 2, 3 and 4 are involved. Meaning I will get protons only from 3 and 4. So 4 plus 2, 6. समझ में आया?
Yes, sir.
All of you? See, protein 1 is not involved. If protein 1 is not involved, I will get 4 less hydrogens. In the initial part, NADH was giving me 10 hydrogens, right? 10 total hydrogens. Because I'm not involving complex 1, I will get 4 less hydrogens, meaning 6 hydrogens. Now, ATP synthase is a special protein which is present inside your mitochondrial matrix. ATP synthase brings hydrogens from intermembrane space into mitochondrial matrix. I'll repeat once again. ATP synthase is a special protein present on your inner mitochondrial matrix or inner mitochondrial membrane, and its job is to transport hydrogens from intermembrane space into mitochondrial matrix. So it will do opposite of these complexes. And whenever it is pumping 4 hydrogens inside. Whenever ATP synthase moves 4 hydrogens inside, it will cause the formation of 1 ATP. So if you look at it this way, let us suppose this is ATP synthase. Whenever 4 hydrogens move inside, whenever 4 hydrogens move inside, okay, this is mitochondrial matrix. It will lead to 1 ATP being generated. Now, if you remember, I told you 1 NADH will lead to 10 hydrogens being released, and 1 FADH will lead to 6 hydrogens being released. इसका मतलब क्या है? 1 NADH can cause 2.5 ATP molecules to be formed, ठीक है, and this will cause 1.5 ATP molecules to be formed. How? 10 divided by 4 is equal to 2.5. 10 hydrogens, if 4 hydrogens are making 1 ATP with ATP synthase, 10 hydrogens कितना बनाते? 10 into 1 by 4, 2.5. Similarly, if I use FADH, 4 hydrogens are giving 1 ATP. 6 hydrogens कितना देते? 6 divided by 4 into 1 is equal to 1.5. समझ में आया?
Yes, sir.
Did you all understand the logic? 1 NADH molecule will cause the formation of 2.5 ATP. I can put it in another way. 2 NADH molecules will cause the formation of 5 ATP. And 2 FADH molecules will cause the formation of 3 ATP. Okay? That is the yield of electron transport chain. That is how electron transport chain will produce energy. I hope all of you understood this. Now all the NADH and the FADH that is produced by glycolysis and Krebs cycle, they will be converted into ATP, and that ATP is also used by your cell. Okay, clear?
Yes, sir.
All of you? Okay.
Yes.
Chalo, we'll stop the class here for now.